Thank you. Thank you so much. Education is one of the most important aspects of childhood. While children are young, we teach them things they need to know and how to think. The education is most important, most meaningful, and impactful when parents, teachers, and schools work together in harmony. However, some schools increasingly see parents as an obstacle that needs to be ignored or overcome. Cutting out parents not only are bad for long-term well-being of our children, but more importantly, it's not their job. Unfortunately, some families will feel the effects of those who have overstepped their bounds long after students have left their schools. Today, we are here to strengthen the partnerships between parents and schools so the needs of students are met. I thank the witnesses for testifying. I look forward to your insight. I'll just say this before I get started. This is why we need school choice. We have a sense of arrogance when strangers who have our kids for a couple hours a day think they are the parents. The fact that we're having this conversation is crazy to me. My parents both were educators, and the reason why they respected the teachers because the teachers honored the parents. Together they worked as a team. If I got in trouble in school, I was in trouble when I got home. So we have to start with that premise that there's only one set of parents, and they're not in the school system unless it's their kids, all right? Okay, Ms. Powell, we talk about the barriers schools put in front of parents like you seeking to exercise the right to review your child's curriculum. You made a point that ironically the use of digital instructional materials actually make it harder for parents to know what's being taught. Do you have suggestions for parents seeking to navigate these barriers and examples of ways school districts should make it easier?
Well, it's not easy for parents who live in districts like mine where the districts seem reluctant to share this information. And one thing I want to tell parents is, go ahead and make these requests. Sometimes I feel like I'm the only parent making these requests based on the responses I get. And don't worry that you're not a lawyer, because I assure you that I've written detailed letters citing the law, and those get ignored too. So don't be afraid to be persistent. And also, actually, the first line of defense is your children. Keep the lines of communication open with your children. Make sure you're instilling your values in your children. They are, your spies on the inside. My children report things to me when they see things in the curriculum that seem wrong to them, and that's how I get alerted. Short of that, I worry if you live in a district like mine, lawsuits become necessary.
Thank you. Ms. Figliola? Democrats argue that concealing gender transition information from parents is necessary to protect the children's well-being. But you make an important point that honesty with parents is important because it allows children and parents to have difficult conversations about sensitive issues. What are the potential long-term negative effects of policies and practices that encourage children not to trust their own parents?
One of the most important, thank you for your question. One of the most important things that I'd like to get across is that educators need to partner with parents. That's been the grounding for me from the beginning of my teaching for years. And I've known all along that how important that is. And now as a mother and now a grandmother, I know how important it is for educators and parents to work together, because I've seen special education students meet their potential. The ones that have the parents that are most involved are the ones that meet their potential, have the greatest possibility of meeting their potential. That applies to all kids, not special education students. But what I can say to you is that what it does when we do not communicate with parents, and when children do not communicate with parents, or they're not encouraged to communicate with parents, like I said before, it creates a wedge between that child and that parent, or those parents. And that wedge gets bigger and bigger as time goes on, as more and more of the issue that they're dealing with, that child is dealing with, becomes more and more important and more embedded in them. It becomes harder and harder. And the separation between that child and the very people who know them the most, love them for the most part, that's what parents do. They love their kids. And most of the parents that I've worked with a lot of parents, and I have seen parents that aren't as involved with children become involved with children when they're encouraged, when I spend time with them, when I interact with them. I have always had parents' phone numbers in my phone so I could text them and give them information as needed, and it makes a huge difference. And to get rid of that wedge is really important for kids' mental health.
Thank you so much. I just want to say this. This should not be a debate. When parents see something is wrong in the school, if it's systemic and they have to debate you, find someplace else to take your kids. That's why choice is so important, my friends. Choice will give us the best options across the board, and those who don't do it right, they go out of business, and that's where it should be. So thank you so much, and keep up the good work. You're back.
Representative Mannion of New York is recognized.